Hi everyone. Hi Paula. Hi Abby. How are you?
Hi, how
Hello.
are you?
Good. Thank you so much, Paula and Abby, for joining me today in this new remote room edition. Hi everyone on YouTube and LinkedIn. Remember, on YouTube you have to be a subscriber to ask the questions in the question section. And please comment anything that you want on LinkedIn on the LinkedIn event. So we'll be happy to answer those in all the talk in all this hour. So welcome first to our amazing guest today. So Paula, thank you so much for joining us to this TECLA space, and thank you Abby for joining us as well in one of these remote room editions. So I
Of
just want
course.
to everyone to get to know you a little bit better. So maybe Abby, you can go first. You can introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your experience, about what you do at Tekla as well.
Absolutely. Hi everyone. I'm Abigail. I'm the Chief Operations Officer here at TECLA. Essentially, that means that I kind of oversee all of our different areas. So whether that's our recruiting or our client management or talent acquisition or part of community with staff, anything like that, I basically have my hand in it to kind of oversee and make sure that our team is all working towards the same goal, and our mission is getting achieved, which is obviously to place incredible, well qualified, amazing engineers from Latin America in U.S. companies. So yeah, I'm really passionate about what I do, and my background is, I've kind of actually bumped around a little bit. So I actually started out in recruiting quite a while ago, working for a really large firm. And then I took kind of tried my hand in the nonprofit space, which I absolutely adore and love. And then ended up getting a master's degree in public policy. And then after that break, I realized that maybe I kind of wanted to go back and see some of the recruiting stuff that I was doing before, but more of the operational side of it. So that's kind of my windy journey.
We love a long journey. That's awesome. A lot of knowledge and experience in there. Thank you so much, Abby. What about you, Paula?
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Paula. I am industrial engineer, but I turned in my career for business management when I did a master degree in France. Nowadays, I am co-founder of CryptoMate. It's a startup. We are building crypto as a service infrastructure. That it's a challenge because when we are talking about crypto and blockchain, is the new technology, and it's not common to view a lot of women in this place.
Mhm.
Before that, I lead projects in smart cities in Paris when I study in France. Nowadays, also, I am currently blockchain teacher at Coderhouse. Coderhouse is an online school for different thematics like coding, marketing, data science, another things that are part for my background. For example, I was working a lot of time with insurance company and mass consumption multinationals like Coca-Cola, beer, Corona.
Mhm.
And also I was working with public organizations and institutions like European Union, trying to articulate different programs to improve the service and trying to increase the technology into these institutions. So in all these departments, being a woman, it's a challenge.
Yes, of course. And we're gonna dive more in that just now. So thank you so much again, and thank you everyone who is joining in both platforms. So I just wanted to like get to the talk, like start our chat today, just to have a little more context, right, about gender, about women in tech in the past two years after the pandemic, and all of all of the challenges that we're facing, but also some improvement as well that we've been seeing, right? And I have some data facts that I want to share and
Okay.
kind of like address it between us. So
Mhm.
74% of young women, like in high school or lower, express interest in technology, right, or in STEM. So and only 18% of those chose computer science pathways, right? This is an investigation of the University of Washington. So, why do we think fewer women decide on a different career path after high school? So, it's not a matter of interest, it's not a matter of likeness of women in those early years. It's afterwards, right? So, what do you guys think? How was your experience when you had to choose a career path? I know, Paula, you're an industrial engineer. So, how was that experience? It was many women around you in the college years, or not so much? I just want to know a little bit about your perspective in this one.
Okay. I think that it's 100% about culture. I
Mhm.
always tell an history. When I decided to enroll in the engineer career, my father told me that it was a career for a man. So I say, okay, that it's not good because it's my father. They, I suppose he will be okay. Yes, you can do it. This is good for you. And this was like an aha moment because I say, okay, here is something that is not good. So one of the biggest challenge, I think, that is for women in tech face are a lack of role models.
Mm.
Women are often unrepresented in leadership positions in tech, in companies, in this kind of studies, and this can make it difficult to advance our careers and achieve our goals. Because if you haven't got a model to say, okay, I can do the same, I can think in improve my career like did it in another experience, we are involved all the time with man experience. For example, if you are an entrepreneur, if you want to take a book and read a book about business,
Mhm.
about startups, all the books are written by a man. So you have a
Yeah.
difference because our story, our experience, it's very different. We are more emotional, and it's okay. More of us, we are could be mothers, and it's okay. And we have to try to match all these words in this career and affront every challenge with these things that are different, but it's okay.
Yes, 100%. What do you think, Abby?
I mean, yeah, Paula kind of hit it, the nail on the head there. But, to just kind of further the point about, I think a lot of it's actually kind of, subconscious, or like this internalized thing that we don't even realize is happening.
Mhm.
I mean, I can speak from obviously my own experience, but I, I also felt pretty comfortable with like the sciences and math and everything. And then it wasn't until I started to actually have to, find a career path. And there's not really any rhyme or reason. Like if I can't logically tell you why I didn't choose that, because I did enjoy it, I think, looking back, I think we don't really realize how much we just, I mean, social norms for everything play into our lives, right? Whether we realize it or not. Like, why is my hair not bright green right now, right? I mean, like, just so much of our life is trying to, whether or not we realize that we're kind of, going
We're
certain
getting,
different.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's just subconscious, because I think there obviously is a problem with supporting women in this field. I am not taking that out of, the factors at all. However, when I look at that study from the University of Washington, I went to the University of Washington, and I can fully say that I took some of their engineering classes. I took some of their econ classes, which, isn't necessarily that, but it's still kind of usually more of like a guy's thing. And I was fully included in everything and felt just as inspired. And so did a lot of my friends. And out of all my friends, only one of them is an engineer. And so I feel like a lot of it just has to do with, there are systemic issues that, we can
Mhm.
definitely address and get into. And I think just our culture has been a lot more accepting of that, of addressing those things. However, I think as an individual like myself, sometimes it's more, I need to reflect on my own stuff and think, am I self-sabotaging here, or am I the one that's not realizing that this is actually, kind of what I've been fed this whole time? And so, yeah, I think the more we realize that it's something that's just more pervasive that we don't even realize it's happening, like being aware
Yeah,
of that.
exactly. And because Paula was mentioning it's also cultural, that's my next
Yeah.
data fact over here. So the International Labor, I don't have the name, International Labor Organization, did like an investigation, and the leading countries by women in STEM, right, science, technology, engineer, maths. One of our Latin American countries, Dominican Republic, was in there, right? It was the first one is Georgia, Mongolia, Kiribati, Cambodia, North Macedonia, and then is Dominican Republic. Well, we have a typo there, but yeah, it's still from this International Labor Organization. So it's a big company that does these investigations, and I happen to be really surprised by this fact. What do you guys think this is for? Like, are we having more opportunities as Latin American women in representation? From Paula's perspective, from like she's from Latin America, and from your perspective, Abby, with a hiring manager position, like, what are your thoughts about it? Like, what I want just some random conclusions here, just your thoughts and experience, because I was really surprised by this one. I don't know how you guys feel.
Yes, I am very surprised too. I always think that we are all the time saying things like, okay, we have to be more and more girls and women here in tech industry, but really we have several pillars to work on. For example, like set goals such as a percentage of women in companies. If we haven't got a clear goal to improve our companies or our environment, it's very difficult to increase the number of women or to increase different plans to give support, maybe in earlier stage professionals, for example, because when you are a junior, it's more difficult. It's difficult to say to a man if he's your leader, no, I think that it's different. So we have to create programs to empower women, especially junior positions, and trying to make a comfortable site to work. And I think that it's one thing very important to work in our organizations and trying to create these goals very clear and work on it.
Yes, for sure. Like quotas, and that's like we're gonna get further in that topic as well. But Abby, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, well, I find it, fascinating, and I would love to know. I mean, it's really hard to say, what is correlation versus causation here, because I
Mm-hmm.
can kind of come up with my ideas. Looking at it, what sticks out to me, at least, other than Georgia's the one that's throwing me off here, but um, Mongolia, Kiribati, Cambodia, so all of those places are the opportunities for economic growth for women is difficult. That I know.
Exactly.
I can't speak for Georgia, but I'm almost pretty positive on the rest of them. And so I could really see it being one of those things where, like I said, this is, to your point, Steph, me just coming up with an idea on the top of my head. So there has been absolutely no research done to this, and do not quote me if I'm wrong, but I would assume
That's
part
objective.
of me, okay, part of me is thinking that, if you are in a lot of these countries, if you don't end up, the opportunities for other roles, such as maybe being a business development manager, or maybe being a sales executive, or just all these other roles, I feel like the economies within them already are smaller. And I could see there already being a lot of men that are taking those, roles and everything. And then obviously as a woman, we don't know, maybe it's something where, they have seen that, that's a way to make a lot of money, to work for countries outside of where they're currently living. And so it's interesting because I think, to me, it seems like it's amazing that it's just so high is the thing. And that's making me think that it's something that either these economies and these like their government is really pushing to improve, the livelihood of their people, or this is something where the people living there are taking it into their own hands, and really, the women are seeing that, there's so many more opportunities for those with, engineering backgrounds and stuff, and are getting into it. So it's kind of fascinating. I don't know which one is, the cause of it, but yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, and I added there because it was interested as well, and yeah, and
Yeah.
still the investigation of the UN agency. I don't know how to say in English. ILOA. Oh, I don't know, International Labor Organization. So it was about that. So it's like there's no many opportunities, and the opportunities that they're getting over women in the 50% off. So it's
also,
still, and there's still a percentage of like the cultural change of those countries as well.
yes,
Like
also to
getting there.
sorry, also to add to Abigail said, the public agenda for the government promotes a lot different instance to change the reality, and I think that it's very important, because if you haven't got an environment and social environment who are talking about these topics, it's like everything it's okay and not, because you have to try to improve the conversation and improve the discussion to be hands-on in this kind of topics.
Yeah, still, and in the U.S. in this same investigation, the U.S. was 88, 48%. So it's still like everyone in STEM, right? Not in leadership positions, not like in um, high paying roles. It's just like the interested in science, technology, and engineer, right? And then after that, and with this, I'm done about context and everything, and we can talk more about our experiences. Because I found that very interesting. I was still looking through that same report, and still, ethnicity of women in technology workforce, Latin America is the lowest. So I'm 100% sure you've both seen this, like in your daily work, or Paula, when you started doing founding your own startup. So we all know that there's always there's been a privilege. So in many professions, not only for women, also for men, for non POC people. So, what do you guys think? How I want to know more about your experiences here, because this is like a fact, and we all know. But
Yes,
I want to know a little bit better about how do you guys felt it in your own career paths.
yes. I always say that my secret is the trust in myself. It's difficult to improve, but it was the only guide that I have had in this time. And find a mentor, it's very important, but also it's complicated, because I said before, we haven't got a lot of people like women founders, or I don't know, which are in different industry, or in the industry that we like to do something. And having someone to guide you and offer advice can be invaluable when you are trying to navigate the tech industry, and also when you are trying to discover what you want to do in your life. When we choose a university career, maybe when we leave the school, we are very young. Maybe we decide to study something, and then we are working in another thing that it's very different. So
Yes.
we haven't got fair here, or we have a lot of fair. And why we can make this transition in a comfortable time. So finding a woman mentor is not easy, but here it's very important, because can you help to feel more confident and motivate to achieve your goals. be representative in these kind of topics that you want to work on. Maybe, I don't know, in case you are entrepreneur, or in case you want to work in some industry or some company, it's the same. It's okay, or it will be easily to find someone in who where sorry, someone who you can trust, but
Yes.
it's not reality nowadays.
So is that something that happened to you in your career? Did you find that mentoring in someone to actually, or no?
Mm,
Oh, you will like to.
I can say yes, because
Mhm,
I am finding nowadays. And for example, today I am in Uruguay
mhm,
in a big event for tech and invest, with the Banco Interamericano de Desarrollo,
mhm,
BID. I was with two or three women, and I said her this problem, and I said, okay, I am really interested to talk with you because I haven't got a mentor, and I want to take a woman mentor for my career, because I there are a lot of things that I can talk with anyone, because
mhm.
all the mentors are men, and I want to talk with a woman because I think the vision is very different.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. What do you think, Abby, about your personal career or anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I mean, I think finding women mentors is huge. Um, for me and my experience, I feel like I was always really on top of that. I was always hunting, people down to, I was really just, I would just send cold emails. I would find people on LinkedIn and I would message them. And I think the biggest thing is to really not get offended by like rejection or anything either. Obviously, I think so many women are willing to help other women in various industries, but you're always going to have people that they might just be busy, and you're not going to get. And I think the biggest thing is to like be resilient about it too, not just even with mentors, but with getting into the field that you're looking for. Out of college, you might get a degree and you think that that's going to get you, where you want to go, and you might think it's going to get you there faster, but in reality you apply to 10 jobs, maybe you get rejected from some of them, maybe you just never hear back, who knows. But ultimately, I think the biggest thing is just, to Paula's point earlier, like believing in yourself and kind of doing this like really good self-talk about like, I'm here to do what I want to do, and also being open to um to changing like your goals and everything. Obviously, like I feel
Mhm,
like that's what happened to me a lot, and it wasn't so much because I was getting the door shut in my face. It was because every time I did get a door shut in my face, I had to go back and reevaluate, is this really what I'm passionate about, or am I just like so caught up in the thing of like wanting to, like you want to be like, oh, I want everyone to hire me, or I want, get into the
mhm.
best schools. You want that acceptance. That sometimes it actually is like a really good opportunity to take a hard look at, what you're looking for, and then realize, maybe for me, a lot of it is I've gotten more involved in things that I'm really passionate about, that aren't necessarily part of my career. Whereas before I'd be like, okay, well, that's going to be my
Everything
career.
has to be around my career.
Exactly. And those two things don't always line up. And so being able to be involved and like figure out how you can like make your life really, fulfilling, and to grow your career in a way where you don't feel like you're also, sacrificing, what you're passionate about. So yeah, just being flexible as well, but with that being really resilient and persevering, but just kind of keeping the door open. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. And we're gonna start with a more happy note. Well, not really, but on the talk. So I want to talk a little bit more about what are the opportunities out there for women in the tech industry for this coming year, right? So
Yeah.
we know there's lots, but maybe not so many people. Maybe the women that are already watching this live and this event, they don't really know what's out there for them. So what do you guys think from career wise, from in programming, blockchain, data, crypto? anything, maybe locally or even remote, as what we do in TECLA. What do you guys been seeing out there? Paula, you want to share your thoughts on this one?
Yes, yes. Okay, nowadays I am working in Web3 industry. I think that here there are a lot of opportunities, especially because the philosophy of Web3 is
Hmm.
about you unknown who is in the other side, and the code promotes the trust in another person. No, because blockchain is about that. You can trust in someone when you know who is the another person. And here is a big opportunity to increase our career, and how the industry is very very new, is very recently. We have everything to do. So if we want to create a new product, web free, crypto, NFT, blockchain, only for women, we can do it, because we haven't got a competition, for example. And here we can explain our vision, our mode of work, and anything that we create we believe important for our industry, and for our values, and for our vision. Also, a lot of teams in companies in marketing, for example, are a lot of women involved, but the leaders are men's. And here it's complicated, because if you have a lot of people, a lot of women working in marketing, how is possible that the leader is a man? And why, when you have when someone have to promote another person, always is a man? So here we have another problem. Studies have shown that another challenge for us is that men are more likely to be promoted than women. So even when they have comparable qualifications or comparable experience, and here we haven't got fear to speak out. We haven't be afraid to use our voice to speak against, I don't know,
Yeah.
discrimination,
Mhm.
some difficult situations. And if I have to say something, standing up for yourself and others will help create a more inclusive environment for everyone, because this is about different skills and different perspective, and all are important to create an inclusive organization.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned about Web3, all the opportunities that are in there, right? Because um, when something is new, it's kind of like we know there's a cultural difference between interns and people and access to education and all of that. But if you are in starting your career path in tech, and you can see all these opportunities, especially blockchain, right? What are your experience, Paula? I know that you're teaching a blockchain course in
Yes.
Coderhouse. So, how many women are in there? So, do you find it 50-50, or still more guys?
No, no, 20%. 20% are women. The rest are mans. A lot of are trying to improve this knowledge, more for the crypto
Okay, for their
application.
own. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And here it's important to say that blockchain is more than crypto. So is this industry is new, and we can understand how it works. We have a big opportunity to create anything that we want. And here is where I say, okay, if you want to think in innovation,
Hmm.
here you have a different way, and the ecosystem is really open, because
The
it's
community and everyone. Hmm.
yes, yes, it's really true that no matters if you are woman, man, young, old, I don't know your where you
Degree.
are. Yes, yes, you have everything to win.
Awesome, I love that. What are your thoughts, Abby, on this one? Are the most, I don't know, common roles that you're seeing that are pursuing by women?
Yeah.
because of course all of the roles are for everyone, but we know there's still a gap, right?
Totally. Yeah. Well, I love, first off, just to, I'll get to my answer in a second, but I love that Paula brings up that blockchain and crypto, there's a lot there. Usually
Yeah,
people
we
just
can do
say
a total talk about that. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that's really important because I know a lot of women actually that I'm friends with know pretty decent amount about blockchain. There's still a lot to learn. There's even different opinions on things when it comes to it. But and a lot of them have actually taken roles in consulting firms or things like that because of their knowledge with blockchain. So it doesn't necessarily lead them down this like STEM path, if you will. But I think that's also what's so fascinating in a lot of these things. Sometimes you think that it's kind of like boxing you into, maybe you don't want to do coding, for instance, right? But if you're interested in like blockchain, there's a lot of opportunities for that with like really large consulting firms that are, working on projects like that aren't necessarily, development related. And so I think it's kind of to, once again, to Paula's point, it's like really understanding the differences with all these things and not so quickly being like, oh, I'm not interested, because you like hear a word and then you automatically think it's related to something you're not interested in, and then you just kind of decide you're not interested at all. And then as far as kind of your question goes, what roles I'm really seeing right now, I mean, honestly, it's everything. So we're looking at clients that they don't even want to hire for anyone except for, they don't want to hire unless it's going to be a woman engineer on their team for that role. And we're finding that, obviously it's harder to find women for a lot of these roles. I would definitely say like, designers and everything are usually a little bit easier. But we're also finding that, and I kind of go back to, I kind of always go into this weird like psychology thing, but I go back to my thing about the subconscious of like how we move throughout the world. And what I'm finding and kind of trying to put my finger on it, because I think this is what is happening, but I can have a male engineer who has the same amount of experience as a female engineer, so they're both pretty junior, and I'm assuming that it's something about, just the subconscious of like the hiring, and most men have seen other men succeed in those positions. They've seen them, move up in their career. They've actually seen it. So whether or not they're thinking about it, they are, because I'm finding that a lot of times the guy gets the job, even though they really wanted the woman. But a lot of times we're working with this bias that, for instance, if we, you can say the same answers. And I'm sure someone's going to call me on this and be like, that's not true. But I really do. I mean, I have it happen in my own life as well, where like you can literally say the same thing, and not everybody will do this, but some people will take it differently. It's like sometimes if,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, and like if a woman is, explaining something and she doesn't give enough clarity on it, sometimes there's an automatic assumption, oh, she doesn't know the answer. Whereas if yeah, or if the guy did the exact same thing through the interview, it's like, okay, I think he's just really confident, like he doesn't need to explain himself. Like it is different how this works when it comes to that. And so I think for women to be just aware of that as well. So that way, unfortunately, I don't think we can get, I don't think biases and stuff are just going to be changed overnight.
They're gonna disappear. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but if you are like looking for those jobs and everything, and you're like, you're new and you're trying to get into it, and you're like, wait, like they said they really wanted a woman, why didn't they hire me? And a lot of times it's because, clients also, not our clients, but businesses think that they want women on their team for various important reasons. But when it actually comes to their own underlying subconscious bias, it kind of like doesn't work out that way, which is tough. Yeah.
And this, what you mentioned, and it's so true. And this question from Emily is actually really on point on that one. So it's, what do you think imposter syndrome is more chronic in women? And I think it's so related to what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, Paula?
I think that it's because we have difference in how boys and girls are raised in childhood.
Mm-hmm.
From early stage, boys are encouraged to lead and demonstrate self-confidence, and exhibit less emotion than girls. And this makes also us believe that the only way to live is as a men do. And we have to believe that there are different things to live. Yes. And these different things, there are a lot of, like, people, like person.
Yeah,
I will
exactly.
have one way to live. Abigail have another way. You the same. When, for example, if you change your job to one company for another company, a lot of times you say, okay, it will work with the same way or the same method. And no, it's different. And we have to interpret how our leader, especially if it's a woman, take the responsibility and open different space and different frameworks to give on different discussions or different challenge into the organizations. And I think that the problem is with the education when we
Yeah,
are childhood.
yeah. When we are children, that's really on point because, like from my experience as well, I have a lot of friends, um, and they are really good in their career, in their own careers. I don't know, lawyers, communications, anything. And at some point, like between these couple of years, they all told me, "Oh, I just got lucky. Like I had this amazing opportunity, and it was just luck." And it was not luck. You're really smart. You build your career. You've worked for that. And I haven't had the same amount of male friends that have told me that they just got lucky. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure they'll still really put an effort on their careers, and still they deserve all those promotions as well. But and still that imposter syndrome is really popular around everyone at the moment because of all the foreign culture and everything else. But I still think that women kind of like, it's always that, is that because we were raised like that, and it's because every time we've done or accomplished something, there's always been doubts on the other side, like how does she got in that place, and even in the pop culture scenario, right? So if we, I don't know, a famous actress, so how did she land that job, because only her looks or anything like that? I think it's all like a big gender thing, right? A gender gap, and it impacts also the tech industry. So really thankful for your question, Emily. It's a really big topic on that one as well. So thank you so much for that. I hope we could address it in some way. Okay, so I want to keep with the talk with just talking a little bit further what we were talking before. That is, what challenge do women face in tech right now at the moment? With Paula mentioned the lack of mentors, the lack of female role models. Um, Abby mentioned the gender bias in the workplace or in the hiring industry as well. What do you guys think about unequal growth opportunities compared to men, or maybe unequal pay for the same skills? Have you seen that, like the pay gap? I think we're doing a lot of work, like globally, to eliminate that. But what are
Yeah.
your experience in that?
One thing that I found really interesting, and this is something I actually just figured out the other day, so I'm hoping I get my facts straight here, but um, and I really didn't think about this all until now that I'm in my 30s, and now I'm seeing much more aware that women are having babies all over my Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is.
All of your friends, yeah.
Yes, and I never really thought about that as far as, I don't have my own kids, so I wasn't, I just wasn't thinking about it. I was like career oriented, okay, like I can move up the ranks for these reasons. However, and this is must be a lot different in Uruguay, because in the US, for instance, we don't have, it's really uncommon to have paid paternal leave. Like it's not at all a thing. And then paid maternity leave is not usually a thing either. And if it is, it's like company specific. And then with that, though, we have companies like, really large companies like Amazon, for instance. They this is kind of getting into a much deeper subject here, but I think it's really important, which is that, they fund women, I think it's like 90% for them to freeze their eggs. So like, because they don't want, women to not
start being a mother.
working. Right.
Okay.
So like the point is to wait.
I
Yeah.
get it.
Space, and obviously we can all, there's obviously a huge, amazing part of that, right? Like egg freezing is incredibly
It's really expensive, yeah, and there's a lot of women that really want that.
Exactly. So like that is not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's, like it's obviously very innovative, and I don't think a lot of us have heard it before, but on one end it's amazing, but then, you also realize not only is it giving the woman, more opportunity to grow and, maybe not have kids right away, but it's also giving the company this huge benefit where they're able to keep people on longer without having to worry about, maternity leave and stuff. And I'm thinking for companies that are smaller, right, and that don't offer that, but also, want to be, good in the sense that, they want to get good employees, which means that you do kind of have to offer some sort of, maternity leave of some sort, even if it's not like mandated by the federal, government, but you still, you want to have these benefits. However, I can't imagine that doesn't play a role into it, because I know in, some of the countries in Europe, I don't know the exact amount. I want to say, Denmark has a pretty substantial paternity leave and maternity leave, and they're very equal. Yep. And that makes it, I think that does make a huge difference, because you're not, it's just a factor that you're not even, thinking about.
Considering.
Yeah. And so I feel like, that is, I would love to know some more of the facts around that. I feel like I'm hoping there's like some studies and everything, which I'm sure there are, that I can look into, but just kind of, it wasn't something I noticed a lot. And then as I started seeing my friends get a little bit older and having children, it really hit me like, oh, like that could be a huge blockade, to, why you wouldn't get the job over a guy if you're neck and neck,
And even in the US, it's not like a federal thing, and in Latin America it is. It will depend the number of days between each country. Even here it's also a thing, because you are more expensive, like from a HR point of view, right?
Totally.
And I've worked in HR before, like in really big companies here in Peru, and it's not like you will say no, don't hire the woman because she will probably have babies in a couple of years or so. But it's still a bias. It's kind of like subconsciously, especially because what Paula was saying before, the marketing leaders, the HR leaders are still men, and everyone in the workforce are women. So and so don't promote her because she will probably have babies in their 30s, and she's around that age. That's common talk. Like that's not really that rare.
I've seen it happen, not for having a baby, but I've actually seen multiple, not here at TECLA. This hasn't been like a TECLA experience at all. This is like way prior to any of this. But I saw when I was doing hiring for just a few other jobs that I was doing, I would see people, write their cover letter, and sometimes, women would say like, oh, I have, 3 kids, or one of my kids has, cerebral palsy, one woman wrote, and it was a great cover letter. It was really like speaking to her and her like abilities and like what she's accomplished and stuff. And it all totally made sense. And then, I mean, I've seen hiring managers just be like, oh, well, yeah, but then I'm sure she's gonna have to go to a lot of doctor's appointments, or I'm sure like, if the kid is sick and she can't get childcare. I mean, it really, and it's just mind blowing, right? Because obviously in the US, and I'm sure in Latin America, I mean, we're not allowed to discriminate against people for, having a disability or, their race or whatever. And so it's just kind of crazy to me, though, that like we are allowed to discriminate on people based if they are a mom or their kid has, is special needs or something like that. And I don't know, I find that from my policy mindset to be just like really fascinating, that's even something we're allowed to
Yeah.
do.
have I have any story. Sorry, but this is
Oh, no,
important
go.
because once in job interview, the founder of the startup asked me if I was thinking of having babies because that job was very demanding, and he said, "Don't be offended." He told me that, and I replied that
That
was
is
not
sickening.
correct because
Yeah,
yes, you can say me if I want to have a baby or not. So I think we have the responsibility, and we
To
also
call
have
it
to
out.
have the courage to choose where to work. It's
yeah,
difficult because we have afraid about, I don't know, I will never take the job of my dreams.
Yes.
But if we are vulnerable in these situations, the reality never change, and we
yeah,
have to be prepared to change this kind of
Dynamics.
situations.
Yeah, and Paula, what you mentioned just now, one of our viewers just mentioned it. So
Hmm.
that's a question I had in an interview, and I was uncomfortable. So it still happened to this day, right?
Yes.
Not only in tech, but like in business, in works for women in general. But I love that you mentioned that we have to call it out. So we actually have to put a step down and actually say, so this and this is not okay, and
yeah,
this is cannot be continue in this way. So that's our final topic, and I think we can have more knowledge in that. So how to succeed in the tech industry after all these challenges that we face as women, that we were talking about. So how to succeed as an entrepreneur, or maybe pursuing a career in tech or anything. What do you guys think? And I have a question for Majo that is really good timing here. So
come on.
so she's saying it can definitely be difficult or even intimidating for women to enter that tech industry if they only see male leaders or references. What will be your advice for young women who want to pursue a career in tech? Love these questions. Thank you, Ma.
Yes. I think that it sounds fancy, but when you do what you like, you are less likely to make a dude, or because you do it with much more confidence because you see things that no one else sees, and it's easily to be confident with yourself, because if you really like something, you are with a big engagement with this topic. And I always remember myself, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and I said with myself that when I am afraid for something, I think that I could be inspiring someone else, so another woman.
I love
And
that.
yes, yes, because I have afraid all the time. So I don't know. My English is not perfect, for example. But if you don't do it, you can improve because everything is practice. So negotiation is practice. If you want to be an entrepreneur, is practice. When you read all this book about, I don't know, Apple, Google, Spotify, Netflix, Nike, there are a lot of months, but they say I have a lot of no's, and then I have a yes, and then I will be with a nice company, and I have success. So it's the same for us. We haven't got to wait for a validation. We have to try to think all the time. Maybe I am inspiring another woman to do something. I don't know why. Because it's
Yeah,
job, because it's, I don't know, go to run a marathon to New York, because maybe it's having a baby.
Yes,
And
of
also,
course.
yes, and yesterday I was talking with a woman, and she said me, I leave my house 1 month ago, and also I leave my baby. And a friend tell me, you are inspiring your child because in the future he will say, okay, my mom or did something great for the woman industry.
Career. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, for a career. So here I think that we have everything to think, to, I don't know, trying to improve ourselves with self-confidence all the time. And if
Mhm.
you practice and you do it and you are, I don't know, in a difficult situation, it's okay. You will learn in for this experience, and then you will have another, and it's okay.
Yeah, I love that. I love that mantra that you can do it just to inspire the next women generation. I'll
Yes.
use that of the
No,
Yeah,
I
future.
really like
it's
that.
yours. It's yours. It's a gift. It's
You're
a gift for
inspiring us,
everyone.
Paula, and we're like the same generation, and we're still, so it's already having an effect.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. What do you think, Abby? Um, what are your
Yeah,
advices for like young women that want to pursue a career in tech, or how to
totally.
succeed in the tech industry?
Yeah, so for, I have like kind of probably like two or three main things. One is, be aggressive. Like don't, and I mean that like there's mean aggressive and then there's just persistence, there's tenacity, there's, continually like seeking opportunities. And I think that's really important because not all opportunities are going to come to you. I feel like it's a big deal to research a company you want to work at. And if you don't see an opening that you fit right off the bat, email the hiring manager, email the CTO. Like, we're all people. And I hate sometimes there's like this feeling of, oh, well, that's the CEO and he's,
Mhm.
probably really powerful and wealthy. It's like, who cares? Who cares? If he doesn't reply to you, he doesn't reply to you. It's like, it doesn't matter. And I think sometimes those are the people that end up, sometimes a door is, to be all, what is that, when one door closes another one opens or something, but sometimes they don't open. Sometimes you literally just have to like,
You have to open it.
yeah. The first job I ever had, or not the first job I had, the second job I ever had, there was no role for me. It was just me consistently for a year emailing them, and I was like, hey, I already do this on a volunteer basis. Can you just hire me? Can you just make this job? I had to send them a job description. And then they were like, I guess, yeah, we could do, and then show them like what I could do. And then it was incredibly scary. I mean, I had to like, I got hired and then I was like, wait, can I do this? Total
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. And but at the end of the day, as long as you don't quit, you're not failing. I don't mean quit the job. You can quit the job at any time. I just mean as long as you don't quit on yourself, as long as you're not like, God, I am really bad at this or something. As long as you don't do that, it's okay. Even if it doesn't work out and you lasted 6 months and you're like, I got a little over my head there. That's okay. That's life. So I think being like easy, more like accepting of ourselves is going to be a big thing. And being willing to take those chances. And the other thing as well is just also to, God, I had it written down here, which is, oh, this was important. That's why I write everything down, because my brain like cuts out on me all the time.
That can be also an advice, right? Everything that you're thinking.
Oh, yeah. No, this was well, because I brought it up. It was from the mentoring that Paula had mentioned. And I think
Yes.
one of the biggest things too is when you're looking for, some mentors are going to give you the wrong information too. And I think that's really important, because I've had mentors where I was like, this is going great. And then I would always leave feeling really bad about myself. I was always like that. They gave me a lot of information, but I don't feel good. I feel kind of like they don't like me, maybe they don't believe in me, and at the same time, it was like, well, I want to keep him as my mentor because maybe they had some really good job somewhere. And, it was like very clear that was like good to have them on my side, but they made me feel awful. And so I feel like, that's not going to happen that often, but there are people that also just, you can be really successful at your job and not be a good mentor. Like you might just have an ego and like to tell people your success, right? Which is very different than believing in somebody and actually looking at them as an individual, as their own career path, what they like to do. And so, yeah, be picky with your mentors as well. And I think that will really help you in the STEM field, because there's a lot of a lot of competition, and there's a lot of people that are probably more than eager to really get to know you and help you. And then there's also going to be those people that are probably best if you just, move
Just
on.
work with it.
You don't have to keep every mentor just because they offer to talk to you.
Yes, and sometimes the problem is that we do not value ourselves.
Yeah.
So we have to treat ourselves with more love and thinking about what would you like someone else to say to you, and start
Mhm.
by telling yourself and repeat every time, because
Yeah.
this helps us to increase our confidence, our confident power. And it's very
Totally.
important, because if you are all the time saying, okay, I am not the good person for this position, I am not doing it really well. No, no,
Yeah.
no. You have to change the message for
Yeah.
you. Okay, I can do it. I am improving. I will do it better day by day, and this
Yeah.
is good for us.
And the
Yeah,
last,
and
oh,
sorry,
sorry. So, no,
go,
sorry.
Avi. No.
I know we're really short on time, but one thing that I just really wanted to mention is make sure that you are looking at opportunities that aren't necessarily with going back to school or something. Like, there's so many classes you can take. There's so many different like coding sessions you can do. Obviously, Paula even, teaches one. So there's a lot of opportunities to stick in your full time. If you're, in your 20s, you're like, well, I don't really want to give up my whole career to then go to get a tech degree or something. That's fine. There's so many programs to like continue your education in that, and that's going to be really valuable. And then you can kind of move careers that way too. So don't think just because you've decided on something that it doesn't need to be some whole life-changing thing yet. You can just learn, build, try out different things that you like when it comes to, signing up for different classes and stuff like that. And then you have the power to make a career change.
Especially now that everything is remote and that
Yeah.
we have the actual opportunity to have a class from, I don't know, a university from UK, or maybe Coderhouse that Paula is a teacher
Yeah.
of, or career path opportunities. Everything is like in our hands at the moment. So yeah, I just want to thank you everyone who's been watching. I want to thank you, Paula and Abby, as well, because it's been an amazing talk, really. Myself you included, I've learned a lot from both of you, and I just want to ask you just one tip, like a final tip for a person, that for a woman in a hiring process. If you had to just choose one advice from a person that is entering a hiring process in tech, what would it be? It can be in the interview process, it can be in the portfolio, CV, anything that you want, but just pick one.
Be yourself, because if you are in a role play, it's not successful for the future, because the job is not for you, and the job is, it have to be a win-win. The job for you and you for the job, the company for you and you for the company. It's like a partner, I
Right.
don't know, your boyfriend or your girlfriend. If you are like modeling or trying to be someone well, who you don't are, sorry, it's very difficult. And be yourself, it's the tip to improve your career, to improve anything that you want to
Love it. Thank you so much, Paula. You close, Abby. Tell us.
Yeah, no, quick. Essentially, I would just say don't be afraid to say, obviously, when a hiring manager is asking questions, you're going to say what you've done in your past roles. Don't be afraid to say what your goals are, your ambitions are, what you can do, what you will do, how you will do it. Even if in your back of your head, you're like 75%, even like, that's going to be really hard. Like, I don't know if I can. You don't know you can do it, that's fine. You won't know you can do it until you try it, and you need to convince somebody that you can do it. And I bet you, if you are given the opportunity to do it, you can probably make that happen. So if your goal is, I can, change your entire application, I can move it from this old system you're using to this new system, blah, 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 then tell them that and really make it clear. Because I feel like that's something that sometimes we as women have harder time doing because of this feeling of, imposter syndrome, and then we also, it's like more imposter syndrome if we start saying we can do things that maybe we're not sure if we can. You probably can if you're going to be consistent and really try to make it happen and gain knowledge.
Thank you so much to both of you. I love this. I hope we can repeat it in the near future. And I hope everyone out there was engaging with us today. To remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to follow us on LinkedIn and all our social media, and to register at TECLA. In the pinned comments is Paula's LinkedIn profile and Abby's LinkedIn profile. You can also connect with them over there. So yeah, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.